right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. It is I, Joe, with the Markets of Morning Joe, uh, and it is an evening edition episode. I apologize. I have not been able to get any morning episodes out the last couple of days. I've been swamped with work. I've got a work trip coming up. I'm leaving tomorrow morning, so I wanted to get a video out tonight because I won't be able to make it tomorrow, and it's been a few days, so really wanted to get some information out. And I want to start with Tesla. I thought this week for sure was going to be like fireworks all week long, back and forth with the Bulls versus the Bears. And honestly, the Spiders up until this morning were really fucking boring. All the action honestly has been in Tesla. These last couple of days, Tesla got beaten to a bloody pulp, like Joe Pesci at the end of GoodFellas. Like it's still breathing, but they beat it to a bloody pulp. And my goodness, I mean, this thing went down fast. You know, I was able to get a couple of short positions out of it, and even one in the long side today. But my goodness, I did not expect it to cut through all of this support we had here um, yesterday. I thought for sure it was going to come into this section and kind of bounce for at least a day. I didn't think it was going to fucking slice right through it like a knife, a hot knife going through butter. What's that saying? A knife through hot butter or something like that. Anyhow, I mean, it went right through it. This day just fucking, I mean, it got pummeled. And so let's talk about this for a couple of minutes. Now, this thing literally went from the last 3 days, 4, 5, let's just say 5 days, really, since it broke this trend line. Actually, it's been a week, but it held a little bit for 2 days. And then the third day is when it gave up. It went from 386 down to 324. And then early this morning at 4 a.m., I was up really early this morning. I saw it trading at 321. And I really thought for sure that this thing was going to continue lower. And it still might. That still could be the case tomorrow. Who knows if the market sells off, or honestly, this has been doing the opposite of the spiders. I'll get into that in a second. But today was a bounce up. It definitely recovered a little bit today. Tomorrow, who knows if there's going to be follow through to the upside. We could go back up to the 350 area and possibly even higher if you go to an hourly chart. So it tagged the 20-day moving average around 343. The 50-day moving average is up to 360, but you have some resistance right here at 350. So, you can see once it tagged the 20-day moving average today, it sold off a little bit in the last, hour of the day. So tomorrow, it's either going to continue the sell-off down to this trend line that I have right here or close to it, or it's going to go back up. It might stall out at 350, and that's all we might get, and then it might come back down, or it could go up to 360. Eventually, I think it's going to make its way back up. But let me go back to the daily. So I've got this trend line here coming from this pivot back in October. Okay, so there was a pivot high here, and if as I ran this trend line basically to this pivot high, to this pivot low, and it comes across this way. Now, right now, this just trend line really doesn't mean much. However, if it ends up selling this low, there is support here. And it also coincides with the 618 Fibonacci retrace. All right, so I took my Fibonacci retrace from the low here in August. Okay, now, even if I take this further back, but before I do, right, so from August until the all-time high, all right, right now, as it is, Tesla has made a slightly over a 50% retrace. So it gave back 50% of its gains since August. Okay. It's not going to surprise me at all if it makes its way down to the 618 retrace, which is $300. It might not go all the way to 300. It might stall out around 310-ish, 309. Okay, very possible. And honestly, this trend line, if I follow it right here, boom, right, like it could take a couple of days, but we could see it at 309. That's going to be a fucking massive buying opportunity. If you haven't already bought some Tesla, like this is a great level. The thing's already fucking 50% off of what it was 2 months ago. So you want to buy that. It's coming into really solid support. But again, even if I take this fib back all the way to the low in April, um, you'll see that it hasn't quite made a 50% retrace yet, but that's at 317. And that's kind of what I was expecting. Yesterday, I really thought there was going to be continuation of the sell off down into at least the 315 area. Um, and so this has been trading opposite of the spiders. All right, so let's go to the spiders. The spiders pissed me off. I'm gonna tell you why. So I had some puts on the spiders that expired on Monday, and my number was 599. Okay, 599. Monday was the day that it expired. You think the fucking spiders followed through and sold off from Friday? Look, Friday they closed at 600, and we got a fucking gap up Monday morning up to 604. Let's see when it opened at 603, 604. Yeah, 604. It gapped up, and it fucking hung out right here for literally 2 days. Like if you go to the hourly base, the hourly chart, it just fucking hung out right along this trend line. I guarantee you that was options manipulation. Guaranteed. This fucking morning, it gaps down to where? It opened at 599. Where was it? Yeah, 599. So my bad. Like I got the strike price right. My target was correct, but I was off by a couple of days. If I only, pushed my expiration out at least 2 days, maybe, a little bit longer than that, I would have made some money, but it expired worthless. So, fortunately, I made some on Tesla, so kind of it evened out. But so while the spiders were up in fucking La La Land over here at 604, 605 territory, Tesla was getting bludgeoned. So this morning, when this sold off, when the spiders sold off this morning, Tesla had a comeback. So Tesla has been trading opposite of the market, basically, as well as the Qs. All right, Nasdaq and the spiders were all trading in tandem, and it was basically, just hanging in this tight range for the last couple of days. It was boring. I was hoping that there'd be more action. So Nvidia really had a huge comeback last week. Let's go to the weekly. It had a very huge engulfing green candle. So last week was a massive green candle engulfing the previous week. That's very bullish. However, it's into resistance. So we'll see what happens with Tesla. Tomorrow's PPI report may affect it one way or the other. I mean, the markets are kind of waiting on some sort of news where it's either going to cause the markets to go up to the higher side or down to the low, and it's basically like that with everything. Google sold off again. Oh, I was going to say, wow, 131. What the hell happened? That was just a lag on the computer. Google sold off a little bit today. It's hanging in there. We'll see what happens with that. Palantir, Meta, fucking, they just keep going higher. And what do I want to talk about? Let's see what's special. Okay, Bitcoin. Let's talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is hanging in there, and it's still within this range for really since last week. Let me go to the daily here. So here's my take on Bitcoin. All right, we've got this topping tail that has not been able to, well, actually, this is the high back here. All right, that's the closing high. This topping tail went a little bit higher, but it basically has kind of sold off ever since, and it's now been consolidating below the major trend from the last couple of months, and it's trending downwards. It has not been able to break above this trend line, which I don't know how this trend line moved, but let me just make this adjust it a little bit. It hasn't been able to break above this trend line, so it's trending lower. It's consolidating sideways chop for the past week or so, cannot break above this 50-day moving average. It's got the 20-day right above it, so there's definitely a lot of resistance here. As you can see, this is all overhead, and you've got this red bar right here. So from 101, let's call it 102, down to 96. So that's about 6,000 bucks, maybe a little bit less. $6,000. Let me count. $6,000 from here, 94. So tag 94, and it's still kind of riding this trend line. What happens tomorrow? I don't know. Whatever happens tomorrow after the PPI report, it's either gonna break above, like with everything else, the spiders and the Qs, or it's gonna sell off. So the way I look at it is, if this thing gets through these two moving averages, and I'm gonna push this up a little bit higher. All right. If it breaks above these moving averages, it's probably going to stall out at 102. It's got to break above 102. It's got to break above this, in my opinion, at least what I think. It's got to break above this 102.6. So let's just call it 103. If it gets at 103 or higher, all right, if it gets through this, then I think there's a very good chance this thing's going up much higher. Maybe it'll stall out again in the 108, 110 region. So who knows? It's not. I don't think anything happened, but can it go straight up to 120, 130? Anything's possible. But on the flip side, that's if it gets through here. Okay. If it doesn't get through here and it ends up collapsing, if it comes down lower and it breaks below, first of all, this pivot low at 91.5, and then it breaks down below this $89,000, then my guess is it's going lower. And let me see here. There's support at 80,000. So from 89 to 80, it comes in a 200-day moving average right there, which is equal to this bottom of this green candle. All right. That sell-off is probably going to spook people, and it can probably continue even lower to the downside. All right. And if I ride this trend line out further, it's probably going to come down, somewhere in the $60,000 range, I'm guessing, at an angle. I'm not going to bother doing that now, not necessary. Unless we break below this, then I'll start checking out further. So that's my take on Bitcoin. And let me discuss a couple of other things. Gold and silver. Silver's still kind of lagging, but it's getting there. Gold had a fucking massive, number, 29.40. It's consolidating here, so we'll see how much higher this thing goes. I expect it to hit $3,000 with ease, and probably most likely continue further to the upside, unless Bitcoin ends up going higher, and then that'll probably take away, that'll deflate, the momentum from gold. Let's talk about oil. Oil has continued. It had a nice 3-day rally, all right, but look where, right into resistance, right? Pretty much right at my trend line right here, as well as the 20 and 200-day moving averages. And, this trend line, I bet you, doesn't have to be 100% accurate. I mean, you've got all these pivots right here, so, it's kind of, within this range, but, oh shit, what did I just do? Fix that. There you go. All right. So it's there. I mean, so it had a sell off today. Long term, I mean, my guess is not my guess. Honestly, my speculation is the fact that, I have been expecting oil to come down lower. So in the giant picture, long term, oil's going much, much, much higher. Okay. If I measure from here, this is negative. I don't know if that's the right way to do it, really, but let's just call it from, hang on, $10, $10 up to 130. So that's 120 bucks. $120 from wherever this ends up going down. I expect oil to come down. All right. Well, let's just call it from here, from these lows, which will be this low right here, 60. So 100 and what was it? Yeah, 120. All right. So 120 plus 60, 183. This thing's going to at least 180 bucks at some point. Not anytime soon, in the future. Before then, I expect this move to occur. All right, or not this move. I'm sorry, this move from here. So from 95 bucks down to 68. All right, so let's just call it $30 even. $30 from here brings it down to 57. All right, I expect oil to eventually sell off. I've been waiting for this fucking triangle to happen. I thought it was going to sell off here, and it consolidated and it came back up, a few weeks back. So oil, who knows? This thing could fucking sideways chop for another, 2 months. Who the hell knows? But at some point, this thing is gonna, it's just gonna give in. We're near the end of the triangle. Like there's not much more room to go. I mean, this thing's it's gotta either go up or go down. So my take is this thing's gonna go down with drill baby drill. Okay. That's my take on that. Next will be Natgas, and then I'll finish it here because I'm almost out of time. Okay, Natgas, baby, Natgas. Natgas this is the weekly. All right, so the weekly chart. It's been. Let me get rid of these lines. So it had a sell-off 3 weeks ago, and it came right into good support right here. And since then, it's kind of had a little bit of a comeback, but we're kind of approaching resistance. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, resistance. All right, not just here, but here. Okay, and here. So there's a lot of resistance. There's a lot of overhead right here. We got a lot of work to do. This was a nice rally up as tech was selling off and winter cold weather, this thing got a nice move up. Now it's correcting. This is the weekly. Let's take a look at the monthly. You see the monthly here. The monthly is really into the 200-day moving average plus the 50-day moving average. So there's a lot of resistance here. If it breaks through this, then and it starts to consolidate up in this area, $4 range, then we're heading up. We're gonna make a nice move up. That's on the monthly. So, but you could see on the daily, we're already into quite a bit of resistance here. It's got the 20 and the 50-day moving average. We've got a lot of resistance over here. Trend line here. So I don't expect it to go much higher. If it does go higher tomorrow or Friday possibly, I think it'll hit $4 and then come back down. I could be wrong, but we'll see. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Do I want to talk about anything else? MicroStrategy? No, I'll talk about MicroStrategy later. I mean, basically, whatever Bitcoin does, this thing's going to do. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a similar sell-off in MicroStrategy. Assuming Bitcoin collapses, this thing's fucking coming down to $220 all day long, just like what happened to Tesla. So that's it. That's my take, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate the follows, everybody that's been following me. Thanks for the feedback. Please continue to watch the videos and like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And that's it. Have a wonderful night, and I will talk to you soon. And we'll see how this week ends. This week's going to be a big week. Fireworks aren't over yet, but we'll see what happens after tomorrow. Take care.